And good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Mauler Talk. My name is Ralph Williams. It's great to be here today. We're going to be doing some of these Mauler Talk shows occasionally on and off until the season starts, and the season starts April 16th in Canton, Ohio. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm wrong. Hang on a minute. No, they're at New Orleans at Birmingham, Alabama Protective Stadium. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, oh, no, here we go again, Ralph. USFL is having all their games in Birmingham, Alabama Protective Stadium. Well, if you watch my last show, that's not the case. All right, the fact is they've split it up this year, and we'll run into that later. Let's get into some USFL news before we get started. Memphis Showboats, formerly known as the Tampa Bay Bandits, with Coach Todd Haley, former Steeler coach. Well, he has hired Carnell Lake to be his defensive coordinator, former Steeler player. Also, don't forget Michigan Panthers have hired new coach Mike Nolan. Those of you who don't know who Mike Nolan is, Mike Nolan's the guy who was the head coach down in San Francisco. He always wore a suit and looked like Bear Bryant or Tom Landry or one of them guys that they used to always wear a suit all the time. Well, he prided himself in doing that. And San Francisco did okay with Mike Nolan. So he's their he's their head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator all across the league other than his head coaching position with the San Francisco 49ers. Also, USFL kickoff game will be Memphis versus Philly, April 15th, and April 16th will be the very first game of the year, Michigan and Houston. Also, don't forget the Maulers will also be playing on 16th as well. They're going to be at Protective Stadium to play against New Orleans. Protective Stadium will have New Orleans. They will also have Memphis, and they will also have Birmingham as well. We'll be playing there at Protective Stadium. Ford Field will be Philly and Michigan. Up at Canton, Ohio, at the Hall of Fame, it'll be the Maulers and the New Jersey Generals. Now, I forgot one, and I'm sorry. The Houston Gamblers will also be playing at Protective Stadium as well. So there's going to be at least all the teams down in that part of the area. We're all going to be playing at different fields this year. All right. And, the thing that the Philly fans are crying about is that they have to play at, they have to go all the way out to Ford Field instead of playing in, in the nearby, in Canton, Ohio, like the Maulers are and New Jersey Generals. All right, Maulers, we're going to take a look at their schedule. It was just released not too long ago. They play the New Orleans Breakers April 16th in Birmingham at 6:30 p.m. start time. Sunday, April 23rd, they play the New Jersey Generals. They're at home in Canton, which is where New Jersey plays their home games, so it really doesn't make any difference. At Philly, at Ford Field, versus Birmingham here at Canton, versus Michigan at Ford Field, and then at Memphis. And then they also take on Philly again here in Canton at the home base for us will be in Canton, Ohio at the Tom Benson Field at the National Football League Hall of Fame. Saturday, June 10th at home at Canton, and then against New Jersey at home at Canton. So basically the Maulers are going to be playing most of their games at Canton. So it looks that way. And I know what you're thinking. I know the Maulers are not at home here in Pittsburgh yet. Okay. As you well know, and if you watched my last show as well, I had a gentleman on named Matt Gruba, from the Pittsburgh Maulers, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and he said the Maulers are welcome at Highmark Stadium if they're interested in playing there. Now, this is a change of course because I had heard from a really reliable source that they would not let nothing but soccer and lacrosse and things like that playing at Highmark Stadium. All of a sudden, there's a change of heart, I guess, that they're going to decide now that they're going to play there at Highmark Stadium, or they're going to let them play there more or less. Whether or not they do, I don't know that, but we'll find out as we go along. Bring up the speed on the coaching in the Northern Division, which is the division that the Maulers are in. Michigan Panthers' new head coach, we just talked about that, Mike Nolan. New Jersey Generals coach will be Mike Riley. Mike Riley, if you're not aware, coached the old San Diego Chargers. He was twice the coach at Washington or Oregon State. I'm sorry, the Oregon State Beavers. Also, he has been coach around the old XFL. He's been in all these different different football entities that have been around, and so, and then he also was the coach at Nebraska before they hired Scott Frost, and you know where that went. So you know where Scott Frost is. So he's fired. So I mean, that's the status there. But he's back for a second season with the New Jersey Generals. Philly Stars, Bart Andrus. Now, Philly Stars went to the championship game last year. They lost to Birmingham in Canton, Ohio, at the National Football League Hall of Fame. It's great to see them using that facility this year for their games. Still a little disappointed, and I'm sure you are as well, that the Maulers have not or are not going to be able to play here in Pittsburgh yet. Okay, I think what the USFL is doing is, rather than have one feel out season, they're going to try to have a second season where they're going to feel everything out, see how many fans they have, see where the fan base is, see if doing this is even going to work. And I don't blame them for doing it. It's a good model, but a lot of people don't like it. But I will tell you this much. If you are a basically Pittsburgh Mauler fan, it's not that hard for you. You'll save gas. I've said this many times. Take your kids there. They'll have a great time at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio there. And make a trip out of it, a couple of days there, and get out of Pittsburgh. You go on a little vacation, and I'm sure you can come up with some other stuff there as well. But I'll tell you what, the Football Hall of Fame is a place to look at, a place to go to, as well as your Maulers game. So you get to have your cake and eat it too, on top of all that as well. So I'll get a lot of slack for saying all this, because a lot of people last year gave me some slack because, oh, real ball, I ain't going to go there. I'll go to the Bahamas. I'll go to Disney World. That's fine. You go do that and clean out your wallet. You go do that, clean out your bank account, because you know it's going to cost $8 million. Just because your kids want to go, that don't mean you can't. You understand what I'm getting at? Okay? And the kids can go too. It'll be a lot of fun. People love football. All right? It's not that far of a drive. You don't have to use a lot of money in gas. Probably get a hotel, cheap hotel nearby that has free ice and HBO for about $30. So, I mean, there you are. Right there. You have a nice, easy little trip or vacation for yourself. You don't have to go through the rhetoric of going to the airport and going through all that stuff. All right. The Maulers, as you know, and if you don't, their new head coach is Ray Horton, former Steeler assistant, Arizona Cardinals assistant, and he's been around the league in some other jobs as well. Ray Horton had interviewed for several coaching positions. He also interviewed for our defensive coordinator position and never got it. So he moved on. He went to Arizona for a little while. And he's our new head coach. Our old coach from last year, Kirby Wilson, says he stepped down for personal reasons. Now, Jeff Fisher did the same thing up in Michigan there, stepped down for personal reasons. But I don't believe that at all. And the reason I say I don't believe that is because Jeff Fisher had a bad year last year. And I bet you 2 to 1 to a dime that Jeff Fisher was kind of told in a nice way, well, you're going to have to build this team up, and you're going to have to, do better than what you did last year. And I think he probably looked at it and said, I'm old enough now to where I'm not rebuilding anything. I guess he thought that they had a lot of talent and that they were going to win last year. And I got to give kudos to my friend Luther Dupree, who came out and said that Jeff Fisher, was a horrible head coach, like he was with the Rams. He did okay with the Houston Texans. I'm sorry, not the Houston. I mean the Tennessee Titans. Okay, when they were the Houston Oilers, he went through all that transition. He took them to the Super Bowl or two here and there, and a bunch of playoffs. So I don't know what happened to Jeff Fisher. Maybe the older he got, the more he might not be that great of a coach. But they replaced him with Mike Nolan. He also, like Kirby Wilson, who was, I think, one of the worst coaches in the USFL last year, who said, I'm stepping down for personal reasons. That's the excuse to get out of, really, you're fired. So that's as simple as that. All right, next, the Birmingham coach. He'll be back. Skip Holtz, championship team, Birmingham. Houston Gamblers. Kevin Sumlin is going to be back. His team didn't do all that great last year. The Maulers' one win was against Houston. Memphis, as you know, the Memphis Showboats are back, formerly known as the Tampa Bay Bandits. They are still coached by Todd Haley, former Steeler assistant coach, as you know, and former Kansas City head coach. He's been around. Todd Haley's a good coach. He did okay last year with Tampa Bay. So we'll see what he does here. New Orleans, their new coach, John DeFilippo. Now, Larry Fedora stepped down. But he stepped away to go pursue other jobs and things like that. Okay. So, there we are. All the coaches, the head coaches of all the teams. I ran down the schedule for you as well. And I gave you the USFL news that Cornell Lake has been hired by Mike Nolan to be his defensive coordinator in Michigan. So that's a great hire. I mean, that's a really good hire. Cornell Lake is a good coach. He's been around a little bit in the league. So, we'll see what happens there. Who do you think is going to win the championship this year for the USFL? I know the season hasn't started yet. There could be some preliminary stuff out there. Like, for instance, would the Philly Stars come back and be bad this year? Maulers might surprise a few people. You never know. But let me ask you this. If the Maulers do decide and do decide to have a home field next year, would you support them? That's the question of the day around here. And it's been a mighty, mighty question for many years in Pittsburgh here. Will you support the Maulers? Will you come to the games at Highmark Stadium if that's where they are? Highmark Stadium is the ideal place for them to play these games because it only seats like a couple thousand people. And most of these games, that's all they draw. And if they can do that, that is tremendous. If they can survive and get into a third season of the USFL, that would even be the biggest surprise of the world. And that is true. I mean, it's no joke here with that. So anyway, like I said before, the USFL starts their season April 16th. Just a few announcements for you tonight. 8 or 7:30 p.m. Blog Talk Radio 347-205-9631. We will have it will be Wrestle and Sports Talk. We're going to talk wrestling and sports. Myself, Smoking Jim Frazier, Mark Mancini, and also don't forget as well to tune in Friday Night Blog Talk Radio. Myself, 5 p.m. Myself, Bruce Kessinger. We talk sports, and we have what's known as the Daily Bum. We'll talk about somebody who was once a bum, whether it be in the NFL or any sport. Bruce and I have already gone through a few of that. But with myself, Bruce Kessinger, Mark Mancini at the controls, 347-205-9631. Friday night, 5 p.m. Myself, Bruce Kessinger. And I tell you what, it's going to be a great night of sports. It's going to be a great night of sports talk on a Friday. Hey, I got an idea. You can go to work, you can listen to our show, and then you can have dinner, and then you can go out later. So you can have your cake and eat it too on a Friday night. How about that? Wouldn't that be interesting if you were able to do that? Anyway, if you ask my opinion about Ray Horton, I think Ray Horton's going to be a much better improvement over Kirby Wilson. Last show, I played that pizza video again. And I know you're probably saying, Ralph, why do you continue to play? Because I think it's pretty funny that a head coach who wouldn't even listen to the player side of the story. He said, well, we run a business here, and, the business has to move on. And, he's trying to treat it like a business, like a workforce place where, your service is no longer required. And, we know you did this, this, and this. And you can't even defend yourself. Well, that's what Kirby Wilson did. Okay. And, he said, the kid said he did not get ignorant with anybody. He just says, I think we're going to have a problem because I can't eat what's on the meal or, whatever they were serving for the meal that night, which was supposedly a chicken salad sandwich or shrimp salad or something effective to that. And that was exactly what had happened. So last show, I played the episode of where they showed what had happened. I thought it was tough. I thought it was a rough situation. Should have never have happened to begin with. And we'll see what goes on as we move along. I am Ralph Williams. It's been a pleasure here for a quick Mauler Talk show today. to go over the schedule, coaches, and much more. So don't forget to tune into my Facebook page and Twitter, Wimpkin, and I'm also on LinkedIn, and I have shows on YouTube. You can subscribe as well. Watch all my archive edition of The Way I See It, Sports Corner, Mauler Talk, Talking Wrestling, and much more on Ralph Williams, and also on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe as well. I'm Ralph Williams. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Don't forget tonight, 7:30 p.m. Blog Talk Radio, 347-205-9631. Listen to the show. Have a good one. Be safe.